Hello, everybody. Aaron here. A little footage I want to put in front of some video that Theresa and I recorded over the weekend where we were just beginning to share what our plans are for the future. As I was editing the video, I realized that some of the footage just wasn't usable, and I even actually deleted some of it that I wasn't able to recover. And it left a little bit of gap in there. So, started talking about what we wanted to do. I think it's pretty clear about what our plans are for this summer and moving forward. But we shared a little bit about where we were coming from. So just want to say that currently we live in a pretty big house in a pretty nice suburb. And we got a really amazing deal on the house. It was built in the 1960s, and the fellow who owned it before us didn't do much to renovate it, and I did not have time to get very much renovation work done before we had to move into the house. And as the years have gone by, it's been increasingly obvious that there's no way we're going to do things like gut bathrooms and kitchens and do all the drywall work that needs to get done and take care of all the flooring while there's 12 people living here, including small children. So in the footage that follows, we talk a little bit about what we're going to do this summer to get our house renovated and sell it. In there we do talk about the fact that we don't have that all figured out, and the big step of faith for us, besides changing our lifestyle, which is really what we're planning to do, changing it pretty dramatically, the other big step of faith for us is to share with people now what our plans are, even though we don't see how it all works out in the end, believing that God will be faithful. And, there's risk there. We could be wrong. We could fail. Or we could see God's faithfulness and really share a testimony about how God always does follow through. So I would say that we don't have any doubt that God can and will follow through with any promise that He makes. Whatever doubts we may feel in situations like this tend to be in ourselves about whether or not we actually heard God right. But as we journey along this way, we feel more and more confident that we're really in line with what God's will is for our lives, and that we're going in the direction that He wants us to go. And we believe that He's got it all planned out. We just don't see all of those plans. We're just taking it day by day, step by step, and sometimes it's pretty uncomfortable. But we're believing that if we keep following Him step by step, we're going to get to where we're supposed to be. And we're willing to take the risk that we're wrong and have people see that. We're willing to take the risk that we fail at what we're trying to do for the opportunity to share as it's happening this testimony of God's faithfulness. So that's what that's all about. The only other thing I think that's really missing from the footage is talking about what we want to do. And so I just want to throw that in there before I put the other footage after this. We want to buy a property where we can build a house that's basically an off-grid house. I mean, with some backup systems, but an off-grid home. We want acres. And give you a clue of what I'm talking about, we've been looking at a property which, we can't afford to buy right now. We don't have a lot of money. We have a lot of children. And our biggest resource is this home that we live in right now. This property is, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of about 40 acres. It's right between two well-known big cities, but it's about an hour and 45 minutes away from each one of them. And where it is, it's kind of in the foothills of the mountains. There's creeks on the property. I haven't verified this, but very likely there's natural springs on the property. Oak trees, persimmon trees, pine trees, mountain views, meadows, places to grow food, have a vegetable garden, have an orchard even, raise animals like chickens and goats, which we want to do. There's a healthy deer population and turkey population, so we can hunt. And we want to build a house Now, I've been in the building industry for 20 years, and I have learned a lot about conventional home building, contemporary home building. I feel like I'm going to school and learning all new things about passive solar heating and cooling, about composting toilets, about collecting gray water, filtering that gray water for reuse, collecting rainwater, heating your water using solar, heating your water using your wood-burning stove, wood-burning cooking. That's what we want to do. We want to build a home where we can be as self-sufficient as possible, not dependent on municipal electricity and water and sewage, and provide for our family clean food and water. We got into it in a little bit of the footage that I lost, just about how much we've learned over the years about how hard it is to find good, clean food. So that's what we're journeying toward. That's the giant life change that we're on the cusp of stepping into, if we're right, and if we see God be faithful to help us follow through with this plan that He's put on our hearts, this journey that He's put on our hearts to embark upon. So that's what we're after, that's what we're doing, and we're looking forward to sharing that with you. And so here's the rest of that footage. Shalom, friends.
Shalom, friends.
We wanted to make another video today about what we are hoping our future will be. Currently, we live in the suburbs. Mm-hmm. What do you think? Are we suburbanites?
No.
No, we're not meant to be suburbanites, are we? Listen, we cut the grass. We don't put the trash out early. But I put a motor in our van in my garage. Most people don't do that in the neighborhood we live in. So we actually changed location. We had some people there making noise, and that's fine. But we wanted to finish saying what we were saying, and that was just talk about where we're at in terms of planning. We have basically, we feel like everything we need. So I've been doing renovation work for a long time. I feel confident that anything I need to do to repair the house, there's no surprises I'm going to come across that I haven't come across over the years. I'm absolutely certain that we can handle all of that. So that's not a problem. So, and I have help. My two oldest boys are going to help me renovate our home. What we don't have is an absolute surety of where our funding is going to come from, because we need money to renovate the house. There's very little been done to it since the house is built. The fellow who owned it before us, he was frugal, to say the least. So, a man after our own hearts. And he only did the things that he needed to do. And so there's a lot that needs to happen in there to make the house marketable. It's plenty livable, but it's not one that most people are going to want to buy when they're moving into a nice suburb like this. So we've got a lot of work to do. And we're not going to try to do that while everybody's living in it. So this summer, which is coming upon us very soon, Theresa is going to go spend some time with family up in New York with all of our children except for our two oldest boys, who are going to live with me, and we're going to work like dogs and just live like dirty men. No, I'm just, as a joke. We're going to work, the thing is, even the boys, my goodness, all the work they do, helping out with the younger siblings, cooking.
Very hard workers.
Oh my goodness, they do like so much work. And Josiah in particular, he's working really hard to get ahead of his schoolwork so that he has to do very little schoolwork while he's helping me work on the house. So I've got my helpers, and I'll tell you what, our two oldest sons are, they're going to be an amazing help to me.
Yeah.
I'm certain of that.
They're very good helpers to me, grocery shopping.
And actually, Josiah's done a lot of work with me. Actually, he's done some. He helped me build a fence, and he's mixed mortar, and he knows a little bit about how to lay tile. So he's got a lot of knowledge in that way too, actually, for a kid his age. So they're going to be a huge help. So we are going to make a big fat mess of that house.
Yeah.
While we don't have everybody living in it, because it would be just too hard to do it. And then we are going to go and spend some time with family, with Theresa and the kids up in New York, so the two oldest boys don't miss out, and everybody else doesn't miss out on seeing them, since the rest of the family will be up there to visit. Our family, I mean. And then we'll come back and we will live in the house for the winter and finish up the things that we didn't do. Because I don't imagine we'll get it all finished, but the big messes, I mean, we're going to gut the kitchen, gut bathrooms, lots of drywall work and messy stuff that we can't do with everybody there. We're certainly going to knock all those things out, and then we'll wrap up all the things that we couldn't do over the winter, and then our intention is to put the house on the market the following year and sell it. Now, in the meantime, we're looking for the right property to buy, and we've already kind of explained what we're looking for. I've actually got my eye on one that looks amazing. Gosh, I'd love to live on that one, but we've learned lessons that when it's right, and so we know that we'll find the right place. And it's, I think the scariest thing is not to step out in faith and see that God can provide for us and come through and be faithful, because we've seen that time and time again. The scariest thing for us is what we're doing right now, and that's that we feel that God has put it on our hearts to take the risk to share that with you. So I don't know where we're going to get all of our funds from. Is it going to be doable for us to refinance the house and have enough money? Is there going to be prepayment penalties, interest? Is that going to be something that just doesn't work out? Is it a personal loan? You know, I don't really know what that is going to be. How much money can we save? I don't know. I don't have that figured out yet. But we have already made plans with family. They know Theresa's coming with the kids. And
yeah, and that's actually like
a huge thing. I kind of like left off.
Yeah, it's like it's a miracle that I have a place to take 8 of our children, and they have space for us.
Yeah.
And they live more in the country, so
yeah, they've got acres of land. And
kids can run around.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And we can be with our family that we never see.
Right,
it's really,
our closest family is all in that town, really.
Like
I mean, everybody's right there.
Yeah, it's really like God's provision that
no question.
We can do.
Yeah, how many of you are going to take in 9 people for a few months? I don't think there's not too many who would do that, so I don't know how I leave that off, but that's one of the biggest and most amazing blessings.
It's not even, we don't even have to share a house with them, really.
Right, you've got your own space.
Yeah, we'll have our own kitchen area and our own, sleeping area. And stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So the scary thing is just to share that stepping out in faith with you. I don't know why it is that way, but it is. But just to share with you this point. I think it's not uncommon for people to share stories where they put their faith in God and God came through and they know the end and then they share the story. And we've done that before. But to begin to share that journey before you actually see God follow through with what you know, you expect, you hope He will, and take people along with you on that journey.
I think also, to me, it's meaningful the way that God gave us our house and how we got a really great deal on our house.
Well, we got a great deal on our house. In fact, I talked to the fellow who just sold the house next door to us before he did it, before he sold it some time ago, and he talked about it like the guy we bought from gave his house away. And in a sense, he kind of did. We really got a great deal on it because
we didn't even really realize it.
We didn't realize it at the time.
Not to the full extent.
Right? Not because he was the second owner. He bought the house in the early 70s. It was long since paid for. He and his wife, they had some money, and he had another property that they would live at most of the time during the year. In fact, I think they had 2 other properties, and he was just ready to move out of this house because it needed a lot of updating, and he wasn't really, even with the updating, we've seen houses in the neighborhood go years ago for a lot more than we paid for our house that were quite a bit smaller and don't have the same potential that ours does. So we have a much better understanding about just what a huge blessing getting into this home was. And again, it's been a great house to live in a great neighborhood with a great yard. Everything's been amazing, and so we're so thankful for it. It's just time for us to start another chapter, and we just want to take you along with us in that. So in the very near future, we're going to separate. That'll be hard for us. We'll share that with you. We'll share maybe some of the progress on the house, but I think we can do that. You just maybe let the kids be surprised. We were thinking it'll be fun for the kids to come in and see the house renovated as a big surprise. They'd probably have their minds blown. They see some of the work their dad does, but it's like that old adage about the shoemaker's children going without shoes. I do some really nice work. I mean, I've done some really nice bathrooms and kitchens, and our kitchen and bathroom don't look anything like the ones I work on. And so the kids have gotten used to the house, you know, half looking like they had renovated it, and half like it's straight out of the 1960s. They don't really even have a clue how nice that place can be, so that'll be fun for them to be blown away by it. But we'll share that journey with you too. So come along with us on our faith journey. We look forward to sharing it with you, and you know, most importantly, we look forward to sharing with you not so much about what we're doing, but showing you a real testimony about the faithfulness of God. You know, our whole life together, God has proven himself time and time again. And it's a little bit scary, but it's an exciting opportunity to share with people in real time as God provides for those who love him and are called according to his purpose and are stepping out in faith and trusting him to be what the scriptures promise he will always be. Always, always be faithful. And so that's what we're doing again. It's maybe a bigger step than others we've taken in the past, but we know that our journey together, and even as we've started to share how we started and before we got married, you know, our journey just before we got married, it's all preparation for this moment. And then whatever comes next, what we're doing now would be preparation for that. And that's just the way God works, and we're excited to share that with people and show the faithfulness of our God. Do you have anything else to say?
No.
No. Okay. Shalom, friends. We look forward to sharing more with you soon.
Shalom.